It's Mike Giambattista. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Wise Marketer, and in our continuing executive interview series today, I'm with Kurtis Van Horn, who is co-founder and SVP of AWM Smart Shelf. And they made a big splash recently at the NRF Big Show. I unfortunately was not able to see it in person, but I think the internet is kind of blown up with this technology. It's really, really cool stuff. So we wanted to get together and talk about the technology, talk about the thinking behind it, and where a company like this goes from here, because this is pretty spectacular stuff. So Kurtis, it's great to meet you. Thank you for doing this on essentially no notice. If you would mind, tell us a little bit about what AWM Smart Shelf does, what the product is, and your role there.
Sure, great. Well, thanks certainly for the time and putting this together. Here at AWM Smart Shelf, we really, if you look at our website or any of our marketing material, kind of our tagline is reinventing the online experience for the retail marketplace or for brick and mortar. And so, one of the largest things that we see as a whole, and really within the last 3 years since we started the company, and one of the large driving forces behind starting AWM Smart Shelf is really, sort of, I guess for lack of a better term, what the industry is calling kind of the Amazon effect, in the sense that, how easy it is to be able to go online for any of your online shopping, create this very, virtual personalized experience, right? So the shopper goes on. I live in Southern California. I do quite a bit of fishing in the ocean. If I'm online shopping for fishing, and next time I get back on my computer, I'm getting, personalized pop-ups and ads of things that I've searched for, purchased in the past, right? And then ultimately learning my shopping patterns and behaviors and creating this much more personalized and positive experience for me. And that's something that I think, brick and mortar retailers really had a hard time trying to adapt to and to learn how to do. And so what we do is using, our Smart Shelf platform and technology, we've really, created an ecosystem that will allow these both brick and mortar retailers as well as brands, some of which are both, right? In the case of like a Nike, that would be a brand and a retailer, or, other cases to where you've got a brand that's actually putting our technology into a store. So we work with both brands and retailers, and essentially, we've got our LED smart shelves, which are actual LED strips that, full color, very tight pixel pitch strips that go directly on the shelves. And we can get into the technology in a minute, but essentially it's about creating a much more, better user or consumer experience as they go into a brick and mortar retail store, giving them a much more personalized and efficient shopping experience. And then ultimately, that's the value add to the consumer, obviously. But on the back end with the brands and the retailers, it's about being able to, obviously increase sales, drive bigger basket, cross promote and things of that nature, really to be able to, have an impact and an effect on those consumers' purchasing and decision-making behavior right there at the point of decision or at the shelf, right? And that's something that hasn't been available yet.
So let's talk a little bit about exactly what happens, because I've seen some of the demos, and it's pretty spectacular. So it seems to me, well, I'll let you describe it better than I ever could, but this is a whole environment that a customer walks into that
Correct.
can be trackable, and so many of the key activities that take place are now automated. But maybe describe what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, imagine that the consumer walks into a store, and ultimately you have our LED smart shelves that are displayed, and we'll just use an end cap as an example, right? This is really fit for the entire store and in aisle, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll talk about an end cap. Hershey is a client of ours that we can talk about, and they pay to put our smart shelves on end caps in retailers here throughout North America. And so if they walk into that store and they'll see an end cap with a big 4-foot wide topper that's LED up above the shelf for the end cap, about 5 or 6 shelves of LEDs there as well. We have cameras that are embedded into our solution that will track the proximity of the shopper. So if the shopper is, let's say, 10 to 15 feet away, it'll be what's called an immersive moment that takes over all the screens, and it looks like one video playing over all the screens. Something that'll catch their eye and stopping power, really, to get them to walk up to the shelf, right? Oh, that's cool. They go to check it out. As they get closer, then they get within, let's say, 5 or 6 feet, they'll actually play individual product promotions on the different shelves. So in the Hershey example, you might have Hershey Kisses, Hershey Nuggets, etc. And then ultimately, once they get within 2 or 3 feet, then it'll play the actual price tags. So from a store operation standpoint, from the retailer, we're now being able to do dynamic pricing and actually show the prices right there on the shelf. You can also incorporate in, obviously, all of the required, state requirements from the actual price labels with UPC codes and things of that nature. So that's the basic experience, kind of at the lowest level when you walk up with the shopper.
Okay. So one of the demos that I saw, I think you were on MSNBC, I can't remember, or one of the financial shows, and you were basically in a fake store setup that had all kinds of facial recognition technology and ways to not only identify, but to serve up critical information to the shopper at that moment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a couple things there. So continuing on what I was just talking about, we do have the ability, we have a demographics engine that's actually based on using a camera that's right at shelf level, that we can do it anonymously. So as an example, just collecting demographic information of who that shopper is, right? It's a 25-year-old Hispanic female, it's a 75-year-old Caucasian male, and then based upon that, being able to serve up content accordingly, but in an anonymous fashion, just simply using their anonymous demographic info and being able to serve up, products or promotions or what have you to them. I think what you were talking about that you saw on the Fox Business News interview was actually what we call our frictionless shopping application.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and so that's actually a brand new release for us. The technology that I was just talking about with the LED smart shelves, that's been in market for about 3 years and currently deployed in 10 countries around the globe. Our frictionless shopping application is a brand new release for us that we just announced at NRF, which is one of the reasons we made such the splash that we did.
I think we hung up here. The video just, let's, if you don't mind, I'm going to start that question over again.
Sure, let me just grab a quick water here.
Yep.
Sure, okay.
It's a connection unstable. Great, that's awesome. All right, let me try it again. We'll cut out that stuff. Okay. So what I saw on Fox Business News was something that looked like a completely immersive environment. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was actually something that we just announced at NRF this year. We call it our frictionless shopping application. And so essentially, think about a cashierless transaction and store environment that any shopper can go into. There's a couple other large folks out there that have announced something similar. We're really unique in the sense that we can put this into essentially any small format store. Think about convenience store, things of that nature. Or we can also cordon off a certain section of a larger store for a quick take, kind of grab and go type of environment. And so the way that our application works is, and where we kind of differentiate ourselves from the others, is that ours is based upon all computer vision technology. So essentially the consumer would download either to the native app of that particular retailer or the frictionless shopping app. They would walk up to the store. It's a controlled environment, so it's a gated environment. They would walk up, and not only would they open their app, but then we'll dual authenticate with actually facial recognition, confirming that's the consumer that has the correct phone as well, right? They're now getting access to go into that store. And as they walk in, basically using our computer vision cameras that are placed around the store overhead, anytime that consumer picks up a particular product off the shelf, we'll now add that to the basket that's in their mobile device, right? As they build their basket and they go through the store, that continues to add to their mobile device. And then as they go to checkout, they go through and verify, yep, here's everything I want to purchase. Again, we do the dual authentication from both their device and the app, as well as facial recognition. And then they're allowed to exit the store, and it charges to their digital wallet. So certainly, this is something that the marketplace has talked a lot about. I think even before Amazon Go kind of announced their first store last year, it was something that, there was a lot of talk around, but everybody's kind of trying to figure out how to do it. And we're really excited that we've got this and we're able to bring it to the marketplace.
It's pretty fascinating stuff. We're going to be posting links to not only your site, but to some of your materials there, and I'll find that Fox Business News interview because it's pretty good stuff. So Kurtis, thanks for the time today. Thanks for kind of illuminating this crazy world. I have one question though, and this one, I don't know what to do here, but you guys have developed this technology along with a handful of others, but where do we go from here? What does this look like next year or the year after?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, if you were to take a step back and look at our overall kind of grand scheme business model, if you will, really it's about helping our customers who are, obviously the brands and retailers, really ultimately trying to reduce overall supply chain demand, emissions, and waste. And then ultimately it's about sustainability, right? I've got really young kids. And I know that the two other founders of the company do as well, and we want to see this planet ultimately survive and continue to thrive for our kids and our kids' kids, right? And so everybody says, well, how does that make sense with your technology, and how do those correlate? And ultimately, how we do that is by using the personalization and the localization that we're able to create with just, ultimately a supply chain that becomes a just-in-time model going to these retailers, right? So only having the needed, goods and products in stores to sell based upon that localized data that we collect.
Way more efficient.
Way more efficient. And then ultimately down the road, that becomes lower spending, lower, meaning on the supply chain side, becomes more cost effective for the consumer, and ultimately, reduces the overall carbon footprint on the planet as a whole. So, that's where, as you look 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, that's really where we see this going. And, we have the basis and the sort of the building blocks and pieces in place to do that, starting with our technology today.
Pretty fantastic stuff. Kurtis, thanks for your time today. Thanks for doing this and illuminating this technology. Next year, we will find you at NRF, but look forward to talking to you more about what AWM Smart Shelf is doing in the meantime. We'll have links to the company site as well as their materials. Kurtis, thanks a million for doing this.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time.
Yep. Talk to you soon.